East Hampton Town Board, we are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 12th work session of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Present.
Present.
Present. Present.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm especially pleased with the roll call today. It's really wonderful to have you back, Sylvia. I know that you've faced significant challenges and we've had you in our thoughts, and it's so great to see you here today with us again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do want to make just a little bit of knowledge. I know that there are a lot of people guessing what had happened out there. And first and foremost, thank my colleagues for recognizing that I needed medical attention back in May at a town board meeting. The diagnosis is cancer. And I know there was some guessing, as I said, from the community out there. And, it's been a really hard summer for me. It included surgery and hospital visits several times. And I am sorry to have missed being here. Much rather be here than where I was. So I'm now on a treatment that has, my body has responded to positively. So I'm very grateful, very blessed that I can be back here in pretty much full force. I still have to go in for treatment, so I possibly will miss meetings in the future, but I hope to continue coming here until my retirement at the December 31st. So again, thank you to the community for all their good wishes. They sent flowers and emails and cards and sent prayers. And I think all of that was very helpful, knowing that I'm part of this incredible, loving and caring and kind community has really been helpful. So thank you all.
Welcome back, Sylvia.
Welcome back, Sylvia. Thank you.
From time to time, I do have the honor of recognizing members of the public for various achievements and contributions. Today, I'd like to present a proclamation. I'm going to need my glasses because it's budget season. Chief, if you'd come up, please. Today, we're honored by the presence of Chief Robert Farrow of the Montaukett Tribe. I'd like to present this proclamation to you. Whereas the members of the Montauk Indian Nation were the original indigenous inhabitants of the area that in 1648 was incorporated into the town of East Hampton, and whereas the Montaukett Tribe remains in existence, even after losing its original homelands, including areas of Montauk such as Indian Field, to the developer Arthur Benson, and to others in the late 1800s and the turn of the century. And whereas the Montauketts are struggling to have New York State reinstate their formal recognition as a tribe after being stripped of that status by a court in 1910, and whereas the town of East Hampton wishes to acknowledge and recognize the history and the present-day status of the Montauketts, therefore, be it proclaimed that the town of East Hampton does hereby designate Chief Robert Farrow of the Montaukett Indian Tribe Nation as the Grand Marshal for the town's 375th anniversary parade on September 23rd, 2023. Thank you. Please come down.
Thanks. Come on.
I'd like to thank everyone for this honor. It's very, very important to us because we are, as I said, trying to get our recognition reinstated. And this is something that will help us along the way. Every little bit helps. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Looking forward, motion.
So today's work session will consist of a public portion and the following topics of discussion: plain noise complaint system with Robert Grotel, New York State Clean Water, Air, and Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act grant opportunities with Jennifer Campbell, and town grants update with Jennifer Campbell, followed by liaison reports and resolutions. But first, I have our emergency preparedness coordinator, Bruce Bates, who's here to give us an update on Hurricane Lee and potential impacts that may reach us here in East Hampton.
Good morning,
Good morning,
everyone.
Bruce.
Ann was hoping to have a graphic for me, but I'm sure most everyone has seen the 5 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center with the proposed forecast track for the next few days. At this point, it seems like it is rather favorable to us. Right now, the hurricane is got about sustained winds of about 115 miles an hour, and it's kind of meandering at a forward speed of 7 miles an hour. In the next 2 days, the forward speed should be picking up, and it would get anywhere near us, the forward speed should be about 17 to 18 miles an hour, and the winds will be decreasing. The current forecast track center of the error cone is approximately 300 miles east of Montauk. So in theory, if this track holds, we should be pretty much unscathed with the exception of some surf, some rip currents, probably some breeze type winds. I want to make clear that everybody, we've got a ways to go. This storm is still quite a distance from us. Continues diligent monitoring. The error cone is there for a reason because several days out, there is a possibility that the forecast track could deviate either to the east or the west, and it could become closer to us and give us more issues. I would expect that the forecast track adjustment will probably go slightly more to the east, which is even better for us. But at this time, it does not appear like there'll be significant impact. However, I would still issue due diligence to everyone to monitor this closely. It's not, a done deal at this point.
So Bruce, at this point, if there are any expected impacts, they would probably occur at the time of the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. Is that
That is correct.
the current
Yes.
projection? And I think this is an opportunity because of the unpredictable nature of these storms. I know technology's gotten much better, but still this far out, things could change. This is a time that people really need to be reviewing their personal preparedness for hurricanes, making sure that they continue to monitor the evolving forecast, that, make sure your vehicles are full of fuel, ahead of the weekend and any rush at the gas pumps. If you have generators, you may want to test them, make sure they're operating correctly in case there are power outages, flashlights working, that whole list of things just to be prepared ahead, because we know if impacts are then predicted in the last couple of days, it's a mad rush and people, are trying to secure supplies or whatever ahead of, and that can be avoided by just being prepared now. This storm may not have direct impacts to us, but there might be another one right behind it that will. So we're in hurricane season full on now. This is the time of year when we expect to have impacts from tropical storms and hurricanes. So appreciate you coming in to give us additional updates. And are there any questions for Bruce at this point?
Are the beaches going to be closed this weekend? And or
I
is
haven't gotten to that point, but I was just going to state that it is important to note that because this is probably going to be whatever impact there is occurring over the weekend, and right now the forecast is not for any significant type of rain, just cloud cover on Saturday and Sunday, a mostly sunny day. But the surf is going to start building Thursday into Friday.
right?
So people need to be aware of that. I will speak with Parks to review what the forecast is as far as their guards and beaches being open. But everyone should just, be cautious if they do in fact go to an ocean beach, should not impact the bay beaches in any way. And Ann did get the graphic up so you can see that even the error cone on the top part of that slide is well to our east. But again, things can change in a rather rapid fashion. So just continue to monitor.
And I think it's a good time for the community members to go to our webpage and sign up for emergency alerts if they haven't already done so.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping, since a week ago when I was here also and what the supervisor had said, I hope people heeded, the warnings to get their own personal affairs in order for these storms. At this point, honestly, as I said, it doesn't appear like it's going to have significant impact to us, but everybody should have had their preparedness done on their own by this point. And it should continue. As the supervisor stated, we're in hurricane season. So whether it's this one that does anything for us or one that comes right behind it, we need to be ready.
Okay, thank you so much for the
Thank
update,
you.
Bruce. We'll be in touch, I'm sure.
And as our message always is, be prepared, not scared.
So next up, we have the public portion of the meeting where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. We ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Do we have anyone here who wishes to address the town board? Yes, Jane.
Good morning. It's good to be in front of the Fab Five today. Welcome back. Two very quick things, actually, not a big set of remarks. Number one, I wanted to just let the board know that, I live down in Beach Hampton, and for much of the pine beetle event, our pines have been in pretty good shape, but I have just noticed over the last couple weeks, like I looked at my own pines, I was like, gone in a week, and now I'm looking around and I'm seeing, so I think it is starting to encroach, so I wanted to just let you know that. I don't know, obviously, we're pretty dense down there and there's a lot of vegetation. So that was number one. Number two, a topic that I have spoken about before, but it seems to be getting even worse, and that's sticks. And by sticks, I mean, you see them every road you drive on now. People right at the roadbed in their right of way have, these like orange plastic sticks all lined up. But now there's a proliferation of like wooden posts and even metal sticks. And I mean, some like you can ride on roads and they're on either side of you. So aside from the fact that it's really not correct to have that in the right of way, and it's unaesthetic to say the least, it's actually a bit hazardous because, so like this summer, when you're sharing the road with bikers and runners, whether you're a runner and a biker sharing the road with cars, there are times where people have to divert. So, if I'm going this way, but someone's passing a biker on the other side, I have to swerve, and now you're basically swerving into sticks, posts, and even stones at some point. So I know it really is more, in a way, more of a highway department jurisdiction, but still, I want it to come again. It's really kind of out of
You can
control.
also report those obstructions within the road right-of-way to ordinance department.
I mean, there's so many of them. I don't know, where to start. So
I think, pointing out the ones that maybe are, in your neighborhood that are causing, issues of safety is a start.
Yeah, I mean, they're aware, like again, down where I live, a lot of people use these boulders in the side of the road, and it's problematic because, some of those roads, the dirt ones especially, are very narrow, and you make a turn and, you don't see them. But so I think we've had the conversation before about my neighborhood. It's just, I'm driving on the lanes, I'm driving on Hampton, I'm driving on further lane, you name it. It's everywhere. So I can raise it, with ordinance overall. I mean, they see them too, I'm sure, when they're, driving around. So I just wanted to bring it back. And I don't know if it takes also by going to highway departments to also, but.
It is a perennial problem, and it's something that we've addressed. And in some, extreme cases, there have been properties that have lined right to the pavement with boulders, which, clearly presents a serious hazard. But, it's something that, I think we have to continually work to both inform the public and make them aware that that's not appropriate or legal to do so.
Right.
And then on the town side to, have highway department and ordinance enforcement, take actions when they see those.
Mhm. So yeah, I think some education is good. I think a lot of people don't understand it. And then, of course, what happens is if one person has sticks in front of their house, then their neighbors put up the sticks because then the landscaping trucks and the construction trucks,
Understood.
are parking on there, and then it literally goes viral, on a street, and maybe people just don't know because they see it. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, and I think it would be good to do some kind of presentation or have a communication that, because I know it is confusing for folks. They don't own they don't own property to the pavement. There are road right-of-ways that are public properties for safety primarily, for swervability, fire trucks, everything going down that if the cars are parked, they may need more space. So that they're very important.
Right. And thank you for that, because it is a bigger issue. People clear native vegetation out of right-of-way. People start irrigating in the right-of-way. People put up, they put their fences in it, things like that. And yes, I think in education about the right-of-way and what your rights are and are not to it, because it's becoming a bit of a land grab in a way. So thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Jason, do we have any callers on the line?
Yes, we do. We have 2 callers on the line, and I'll unmute the first caller now. Hello, caller ending 7563. You are on the air.
Good morning. I'm actually listening into the meeting. My name is Teresa McCaskey with the Southfield Town Aircraft Noise Committee. But I do want to say right off the bat, Sylvia, so great to have you back. Nice to hear your voice.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
And
thank you. I will just continue to listen to the meeting, and I would like to listen in on the results from Mr. Robert Botel regarding plane noise.
Thank you very much. I'll make sure that we take that into consideration. All right. Thank you very much, Teresa.
Thanks, Teresa.
And I completely second her sentiment, Sylvia. It's fantastic to have you back.
Thank you, Jason.
Unmuting our second caller. Hello, caller ending 0557. You are on the air. Hello, caller ending 0557. You are on the air. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, there you are. Hello?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Again, it's Judith Hope. I just want to echo the last caller and say how wonderful it is to see Sylvia back up on the screen and looking very healthy. I'm calling because you have your emergency director there today, and with a concern that I've spoken with many of you about previously, and that is with so many standing and fallen dead trees from the southern pine beetle, especially northwest woods where I live. I am concerned about wildfires. Seeing what happened in Maui and the devastation that an out-of-control wildfire can create. I'm concerned that we have the potential for such a catastrophe in this town, not only in Northwest Woods, I know, but in other parts of the town, but particularly in Northwest, we just have, seems to me, hundreds, if not thousands of acres of dead trees, just very combustible timber. And I wonder if anyone on the board or if the emergency preparedness director could speak to how prepared are we for that eventuality.
So, yeah, thanks for that call, Judith, and I appreciate the email you sent earlier regarding that issue. And we're seeing, a proliferation of our pitch pines mostly dying off to the southern pine beetles.
We're seeing,
Judith, can you mind muting your TV in the background? Oh, she left. She left the meeting, but you can still continue to respond.
Okay, so I'll just continue with my comments. Particularly now in the Napeague stretch, we have a high percentage of pitch pines in that forest, and most of them are dead or dying, and we expect probably all of them will. In our town preserves, we don't have any provision for clearing fire roads currently in the CPF properties, which is the vast majority of those properties. There are some trails, and the fire departments have expressed some concern about trying to fight a fire in areas where, they might have a lot of fuel to deal with. We did have a fire, as folks will recall, over near the airport, which burned approximately about 15 acres. There was also a fire out near walking dunes that was hard to reach. And in areas within the town, the problem of reaching it is not as great as the area on the Nat Peak stretch, where it's completely under the authority of state parks and state highway for the most part. And some Long Island Railroad council member Lisa and I did meet with those entities in a meeting that was arranged by Assemblyman Fred Thiel, urging the state to please put together a plan of action, as that area is particularly susceptible, we believe, having a major highway running through an area. All it takes is an errant cigarette on a dry, windy day. So they are formulating plans. The problems additionally compounded by the recent listing of the northern long-eared bat as a federally endangered species, which prohibits cutting of trees that may be potential roosting trees within a certain radius of known habitation sites of the bats. And that prohibition of cutting runs from, I believe, March 31st through November 1st. That further complicates the ability of municipalities and other agencies for dealing with that problem. But it is certainly something that we're aware of and concerned about, and working to formulate plans with other outside agencies to address it. Jason, do we have any other callers on the line?
We have one more caller on the line, and I'll mute them right now. Okay. Caller ending 1266, you're on the air.
Compounded by the recent
Oh, and could you mute your TV in the background?
As a federally endangered species, which prohibits cutting of trees.
Hello, caller ending 1266, you're on the air, and can you mute your TV in the background?
In a certain radius of known habitation of the bats, and that.
Okay. I didn't hear any response, and I just heard the TV on loop.
It seemed like deja vu all over again.
A little bit, a little bit.
Anybody else here in the room would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. If you come to the podium, please, and state your name for the record.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Jolie Parcher from East Hampton. Welcome back, Sylvia.
Thank you,
If you
Jolie.
need any extra support, I got a crew of healing arts practitioners ready to help. So I wanted to start by remembering what's been done so far that has made all of us very proud, starting with the comprehensive plan. And if I may be so bold, Ms. Rogers, to read your very own words from the East Hampton Star. Starts out in the Star saying, the Nature Conservancy has designated the area as one of the last great places in the Western Hemisphere. Development has not obliterated the natural and scenic characteristics once covering all Long Island. Future development should be harmonious with the existing character of the community. And then, Ms. Rogers, you say, as they quoted you, as your elected officials, Ms. Rogers said, we must ensure that the vision statement and all principles of the comprehensive plan continue to be the basis for all zoning and planning legislation, and therefore continues to effectively manage development today. Where it does not, we must amend the code. While change is inevitable, the board's responsibility, she said, is to manage the change to keep the goals of the comprehensive plan and of the community. Like, amazing. How long it took, taxpayer money, your time, I can't even imagine. So thank you. And then at a certain point, it was declared that we're in a climate emergency. I'm using the correct, right? I confirmed with Biddle, it's climate emergency. And then there's this relooking at the zoning code. And so I just wanted to really applaud that and say that probably, though, now comes the hard work, because that, and then the gardens planted, and there's all these things that we all feel really good about. But now, unfortunately, the voices that do not especially believe that is their priority, I'm sure, they don't whisper in my ear or yell in my ear too much. But I'm sure they're yelling in your ears and saying, what about the workers that are building all these new houses? And what about our real estate businesses? And how are we going to survive? And we certainly care, but I don't think that's a truth. I think there's plenty of work to be done with remodeling houses, with doing innovative landscaping like the Perfect Earth project that has outlined for us, like all the different things like the Montauk Seaweed Company. There's all these innovative things doing. And I've been reading this book or listening to a book on Audible called Not Too Late, which is essays. They're beautiful, hardcore. They're not full of any fluff or just hope. They're very real. And one of the things they talk about is who are the frontline communities, this is a quote, that prioritize community and eco-sustainability. And so what I'm asking today is for us to really be able to look at all those steps along the way and say, yes, we are one of those frontline communities, and we are looking for climate resilience is another phrase from this book, which is more than just always climate emergency and climate crisis. Okay, it's happening. We cannot go back to so many things. We can't get our dunes back the way they were. Maybe we can get the fish back. We've all seen all the whales and everything coming back, but this year we didn't go in the bay because of this freaking flesh-eating bacteria. What the heck? If you look at the water reports, water quality reports, it's terrifying. And I have come to believe from the different people who are talking to me that the zoning code, which starts with saying, can we please move from a 20,000 square foot house as the maximum to something that's reasonable? And what's reasonable for a family, a big family that wants lots, lots and lots of things? 5,000 square feet, 6, 7, 8,000? It's huge. And I think that begins the process of putting our monies where our mouth is and saying, we can do this. We can build smaller houses. We can build houses that maybe a local person can afford, even if it's scary to some people, even if their voices and their money is very loud. I don't know how all that works, so I have respect for what you must be facing. I don't know it. I just know that we are in a unique opportunity, and I believe that, people aren't here. They're signing petitions, they're writing on Instagram, and I think they're not here because they voted for you. And we said we have a comprehensive plan, and you made a climate emergency, and you said we're starting this committee. And so I believe, although they should be here, although there's very good surf today, that they believe that you have taken the reins. You're doing a very hard job. It's harder than me showing up here and speaking once in a while. You decided your superpower is going to be an elected official and to do this hard work. So I just wanted to empower you and say, please, be brave. Whatever they're saying, do something bold with this committee. Don't whitewash it. Don't make it a little thing that maybe can look good in writing. Let's do something real, even if some people are upset by it. There's other people upset by not doing it. So thank you.
So Jolie, let me just address a couple of things. I thank you for your support and for reiterating the importance of what the zoning amendments work group is doing. We're working weekly. We're being very methodical, and we want to make sure we are adjusting the dimensional table as you suggested, and also look at the bigger picture of some of our definitions that are in conflict with our comprehensive plan, that weren't updated along with the comprehensive plan. So when we present our package, we feel that we've done our due diligence and present everything at once. In the meantime, we're also closing some loopholes that I think don't have to be part of that overall package. And one that's there's a public hearing coming up on. This will be in my liaison report. We do our liaison reports at the end of the meetings, and we talk about what our committees are doing. And sometimes everyone's left the room and left the viewing, so that's where we're giving getting our updates on where we're getting our work done. And you kind of have to stick around to the end to hear that, or come back in, or just look on the tape and fast forward till you get to Peter announces liaison reports, and then you could hear what we're all doing in all of our committee. So it's easy once it's taped to do that fast forward, and then come in on a public portion and speak as you're speaking when you hear what we're all up to as part of engagement, which we really look forward to. I have very across the board community support. I have land use attorneys, I have realtors that have reached out and voiced support because they live here and they understand that the value of living here also is in the heritage and the vernacular of what makes East Hampton East Hampton. That's from an aesthetic point of view. We're also very well aware of the impacts of all the overdevelopment, development that's not, that's in conflict with our comprehensive plan and our infrastructure and our natural resources. So we're very mindful, and I think we're at a point, just like with the climate crisis, where people see what people have been talking about, my fellow board members have been talking about for quite a long time. And then they start to get it, unfortunately. And as far as climate change, before I got elected, I was part of the Climate Reality Group trained by Vice President Al Gore. I was a mentor and a state chapter leader. So the awareness is there, and the science to back it up.
Good.
So we're working diligently. I know it feels like it takes a long time. It does for these types of amendments. So, please come back on September 21st. We're having a public hearing because we'd like to close a loophole and make sure that folks have to get their certificate of occupancy, which details everything that is on their property updated at point of new ownership. So every time there's a sale. So we have C of Os that are going back 40 years that have never been updated. So this will help our department heads and our departments with compliance to clearing and what's built on people's properties. So there will be these updates along the way before we present the total package. We did present the purposes of zoning next week. I'll have them back on in a work session, and then I'll ask my fellow board members for support to go to a notice of public hearing to adopt those purposes in October.
Okay, great.
So please keep engaged and spread the word.
I'm in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jolie. Thanks so much. Anyone else wish to address the board? Do we have any other callers, Jason?
We had that one caller, and they just tried to rejoin the meeting. So I'm just going to unmute them and give it one more shot with your permission.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Caller ending 1266. You are on the air.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear, and you are on the air. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm calling in to echo sentiments similar to Jolie and for a thorough response.
Sorry, could you just state?
But I
Could you state your name for the record, please? I didn't catch it.
Yeah. Harbor, East Hampton.
You're breaking up. Pardon me, 1226. You're actually breaking up right now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
It's intermittent.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better, yes.
Your name, please?
Okay. Hence where I live, Northwest Woods, the service isn't very good. And I currently work for Cornell Marine Extension. I'm here to speak on an incredibly important issue, which is revising zoning surrounding overdevelopment. Some of the core memories from my childhood, making me into the person I am today, are paddleboarding on Lake Montauk, observing marine life in Georgica Pond, and catching and releasing fireflies on farmland I tended to throughout high school. The bacteria levels in the pond, and not to mention most of our surrounding waters at this very moment, are too high to deem safe. This was the first August where, for the majority of the month, I didn't feel safe going into the bays with my dogs. Fireflies, among many organisms vital to our ecology, face a variety of threats, like land degradation, pesticide use, and poor water quality. But Rather than continuing down a path of scarcity, I'd like to focus on potential. The work that the town is doing relevant to bettering natural resources, such as implementing new electric charging ports and the recycling programs going on, provide a sense of renewed possibility. But the work is far from over. As I learn more about the complexities of Long Island Sound and related ecosystems to the North and South Fork, I'm in awe by the life they support. So what ecology is left is undoubtedly threatened, and the self-interested development needs to be revisited and revised. I ask you to continue working hard for the fabric of what makes this place, our home, extraordinary. The people of this community are here to support you, as Jolie mentioned. Rather than developing more mansions of 5,000 plus square feet, whether for a small or large family, and turning woodlands and diverse farmland into mowed lawns or other monocrop, let's reinvent and redefine development in ways that are meaningful and long-lasting, in ways that create ongoing job opportunities and a better life for all. A vital waterway turned into another, through collaboration and wisdom, use your leverage to ensure rational restraint to construction here, to ensure progress is made the fair way, supporting land, water, and community alike. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you just please restate your name because we still didn't get it? You were breaking up.
Yes, my name is Ella Gatfield, and I live in the Northwest Woods, which is why my service was so bad. So I apologize for that.
We're working on that too. Thank you so much.
On that note, we have no other new callers on the line. We only have one person listening in. That's it.
Awesome.
I don't know if Ellie, would you like? Ellie came in late, Peter?
Sure, absolutely.
I am late.
It's quite all right, Ellie. You're
Later.
just in time.
Yeah. I'm Ellie Duke. I live in Springs. I was just here the other day talking about the town's support of the arts. And there's all kinds of other reasons why the zoning code changes are important, but one that's very close to my heart is that this, as we all know, is a place that artists have been coming for generations because it's so naturally beautiful. And this is one small piece of why this is important to me, is just to preserve that beauty. I mean, it's just not going to be as beautiful as a place, and it already isn't. Like the fields and woods that I've loved my whole life are now just hulking, ugly mansions. And yeah, I mean, it's visually changing the landscape, and it's also, as we know, changing the waters, affecting every single part of the nature that we live in. And yeah, if we want to continue to have this thriving creative community that's so inspired by the place that we live in, protecting that is very important to me. And I'm glad that you guys are discussing this and taking it seriously, because it feels very important to the future of the community that we have here. So thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Anyone else wish to address the board? Yes, sir. Morning.
Hello, my name's Guy Parcher Charles. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Kai.
I was here, I think it was about 2 months ago, just talking about zoning again, and I wanted to first, just put out my gratitude that you guys are here and doing this, because this is awesome that this is a topic. And similar to what Ellie was saying, there's just so much natural beauty out here. Recently, I was at a friend's house in Sag Harbor, and it was like a little non-imposing house on a pond, and there was birds singing, and it felt like a unique thing, which is unfortunate because you would think that there's so much of that. And this is just an important thing because of that, because we have so much of that, but also so much of that is getting, trampled over and turned into lawns and spraying all these chemicals that are using so much of our resources and affecting so much of our natural landscape that we end up being the ones that have to deal with, rather than the people that are usually the ones that are having these properties and developing these properties, whether they're actually living in it or just having it be an investment. Yeah, and just, this is an important topic, and thank you again for doing this and putting your effort into this. Thanks.
Thank you, Sky.
Thank you.
Do we have any other callers on the line?
We have no new callers on the line.
Okay, at this point, we'll move on to our agenda topics, the first of which is plain noise complaint system, and we have Robert Grotel, I believe, in the waiting room, as well as our airport manager, Jim Brundage, I think, is also on the line for this presentation.
Absolutely, they are joining the meeting right now.
Let them in. Great, thank you so much.
James, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, great. We're still waiting for Plain Noise to... All right, and Plain Noise, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you very much. My name is Robert Grotel. I am a vendor to the town of East Hampton, Plain Noise. We have a contract with the town. I have a presentation that I'd like to show, and I'm just trying to figure out, how do you want to do this? Should I be sharing my screen, or are you going to show the presentation on your screen? I'm just not sure what the...
You should be able to share your screen.
Okay, so I will definitely try that. Let me figure out how to do that. Oh, I see. Okay. I'm going to share my screen.
We have the presentation up. Thank you, Robert, and welcome.
All right, perfect. All right, well, thank you so much. There we go. All right, good. So I was a little concerned about the technology part of it. Well, again, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be before the board again. We have a relationship that dates back quite some time. We've been providing the service for you, Plain Noise, since 2012, so it's been 11 years. And I thank you for your business. Just a little background on Plain Noise. We were established 17 years ago in 2006, based in Port Jeff, so not too far from the Hamptons. We are the only provider of aircraft noise complaint management systems in the U.S. In terms of, that is all that we do. We work for airports all across the country, coast to coast, from Boston, Logan, all the way to SeaTac in Seattle, providing this service. And it's a cloud-based online database to allow the airports and the governmental entities that run the airports to have this ability to automatically collect and analyze complaints in a real-time basis. As I said before, we've been serving the town since 2012. We have 25 client airports coast to coast and beyond, and the beyond is Calgary International Airport in Canada. Now, all of our systems combined, so far this year in 2023, we've collected over 500,000 complaints, 525,000. And for JPX for East Hampton, as of September 6th, there were 27,979. And I just checked before, look at my notes here, we're up to 28,346 just for East Hampton Airport. And our, excuse me, in terms of our high volume airports, Kennedy and LaGuardia, of course, SeaTac in Seattle, and Charlotte Douglas in North Carolina. Those are our busiest complaint airports. So basically, what is a complaint box? It's a dedicated noise complaint and handling solution, just something that we developed to make it easier for airports to collect and analyze data in real time. And we provide increased intelligence and analytics And with the goal of reducing the costs and stretching valuable resources, prior to our being around, a lot of the airports handled complaints manually. So they had a dedicated staff person or staff people who would collect the complaints, whether it be on a voicemail or an email, and then manually enter it into a database. And we've automated that entire process, and that's where the cost savings come into play. What the system does in real time, and real time is the key, is it receives complaints in real time, automatically updates maps, and categorize the complaints and determines who is submitting and what their specific issues are. It's all about data, and then providing data visualizations to make it easier for the users to see what the issues are. And the bottom bullet on this screen is really the most important, I think, is that the data that we provide you and other airports around the country is really the bottom line, is to improve community compatibility if possible, is that to understand who is and who are being annoyed, and is there some ability to modify the noise abatement procedures to try to minimize those potential effects. And that's what we do in terms of our data. Now, the key features of our system, as I indicated before, real-time noise sensitive area and trend identification, automated data collection. We have a mobile app that's good for iPhone and Android. We have a hotline for those people who perhaps don't have access to online services. We have a web form. And I think a key is we also accept airnoise.io complaints, and we work very closely with them. They're based out in California. And they provide complaints to a lot of our systems coast to coast, including a lot of the airports that we handle in the Seattle area as well as California. And then every time a complaint is received, if we have the email associated with the complainant, the system will automatically issue an email receipt to them to indicate that the system has successfully received the complaint. And some of the key features of Complaint Box, we have automated complaint correlations, which is a unique feature with our system, is as the complaints are received, within a number of minutes, we do our best to identify the likely aircraft that generated the concern. And all of this data is provided within the complaint box, and the airport has access to all of the data. And we also developed smart receipts, which off of that email that is sent out to each of the complainants, you can click on the smart receipt link and see the aircraft that generated the complaint. And it also incorporates some significant data points of who the aircraft is, who owns the aircraft, what the altitude was. And I'll show you that in a little bit in a future slide. We provide, it's an online database, so the users have access just by logging on. We have a dashboard, and I'll, after I'm done with the presentation part, I'll just quickly share my screen and show you what the dashboard looks like. And basically, we're tracking complaints from the receipt of the complaint to analysis, investigation, and reporting. And we provide very detailed GIS maps and reports. And I talked before just about the correlations. So what we do is a complaint, when you boil it down, is 4 pieces of data. It's the date, the time, and it is the latitude and the longitude. That is a complaint. Those are the 4 pillars of the complaint. And all the details get added on to that. What was the type of aircraft? What was the concern? Was it too loud, too low, too many? All of that is built on top of those 4 data points. So in terms of the correlations, what we do is we take those 4 data points and we match it to our flight track data that we subscribe to. It's ADS-B data. And we have installed a number of years ago with the board's cooperation and also Jim Brundage, we installed an ADSB receiver at the terminal to help get this accurate data. And then
Robert,
I'm sorry?
This is Councilmember David Lease. Just for the viewing or listening public, the acronym that you just used, can you spell that out, please?
Oh, that's
ADSB.
yeah, I'd have to look that up. I'm not a pilot, but it's a specific. It's a GPS-based flight tracking data source. So similar to Flight Radar 24 or FlightAware, they all use ADSB data. I wish I had the long version off the top of my head, but unfortunately I don't.
Does that relate to the transponders that they might have on board, I think?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a piece of equipment. Again, I'm not a pilot, so I can't really answer these detailed questions regarding the cockpit, but it is a piece of equipment. All aircraft are required to have it, and it issues a GPS type signal that can be tracked, and that's again how Flight Radar 24 works and FlightAware. And all the publicly accessible flight tracking systems use this type of data. So I can get back to you with the actual.
No,
maybe Jim can.
Yeah, I have it. It's automatic dependent surveillance dash broadcast is the technical term for it. And what it is Peter nailed it. It's all the data that comes out of the airplane's transponder and gets picked up by these ADSB receivers, like the one you said you put in my airport here.
Yes, thank you, Jim.
Yeah, so that's automatic surveillance.
Right.
Thank you,
basically, what we do is we take those 4 data points, date, time, lat, and long, and each of the flight track data that we get, this ADSB data, within the data set are the same 4 data points, and where they match based on an algorithm that we developed. It's pretty much that's the aircraft that generated the complaint. And it works really well in terms of the system that we developed specifically for East Hampton. Another of the data points that we focus on is the altitude when the aircraft flies closest to the household that is filing the complaint. And there's a whole series of data points that I'll go into. And then we can also determine, was the aircraft related to East Hampton? Was it related to Montauk or Gabreski or the Southampton heliport? We get 30 miles of data with the center point of the East Hampton airport itself. So we can determine where the aircraft was operating to or from, if it's within that radius, and also what it potentially is doing. And also, in addition, for collecting data, we have the hotline I mentioned before for both JPX and MTP for Montauk. Based on an extension, you can file a jet complaint or helicopter, seaplane. It's based on aircraft type. We have a web form that is available off of the town's website as well. And just a typical web form, it has address autocomplete. And as long as the address is a valid USPS address with the post office, then it's in our database. And
Robert,
the web
can I ask you a
Yes.
question? Do any of these methods, is one better than another as far as, getting richer data?
No. Well, I guess you could say that the web form and our mobile app, because the complainant or the commenter has the ability to provide a free-form comment. With the hotline, we get the entire message. We do a voice-to-text transcription. We focus on keywords, and we try to categorize it. So I guess if we did have to say that there's a richer data source, I would say that the online sources are a little bit better, but we don't discount any of the hotline. It's all counted the same. We try to categorize it as best we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so this is what the web form looks like. Again, the link is off of the town's web page. I'm sorry. You just fill out the information. When you click submit down at the bottom, you get an automatic thank you. And that complaint hits the system within about 2 minutes, and it's automatically recorded in the database. And we try to collect all the data. We give a lot of the options, the types of complaints, whether it be excessive noise or low altitude, hovering for helicopters, too many, too early or late. Again, we're all about the data and trying to categorize the data as best we can to make it useful for you. Now, we have a mobile app, and you have used the mobile app for quite some time. We're actually updating the mobile app, and we're going to roll that out in the next week or so for the town of East Hampton. And so what the mobile app does, it just makes it a little bit quicker and easier to file a complaint. And again, it's iOS and Android compatible. And we try to use cached information. So hopefully you would just have to enter the information once, and every time subsequent to that, your contact information should be there, as well as some of the other categories that you've clicked. Now, if you clear the history of your phone or you clear your cache, you'll have to start again. So this is what the new design looks like. We streamlined it, made it a little bit more easy to use. It's still the same 4 steps. You fill out, step 1 is the contact information, who you are, what your address is. Again, we have an address autocomplete. Put in your phone number and an email. And then you click next, and it takes you to the second step, step 2, which, when did you hear it? You can hear it right now. You click right now, it will take the date and time from your phone, and it will transmit that information to us. If you heard it earlier this morning or yesterday or the last week, you can enter that information as well. The last 2 screens, and this is an app that we developed, this upgrade we provide a helicopter noise complaint management system to Fairfax County in the Washington, D.C. area. They have a very significant helicopter noise issue down there, mostly for military aircraft, but they asked us to provide our system for them. And I'm just showing you what their mobile app looks like, which is exactly what yours will look like, except on step 3, you'll have 2 airports to choose from. It'll be JPX and MTP. And it's just very straightforward. You click the aircraft, the helicopter mission, if you're aware of it. And if not, that's okay. And then you would click on the type of concerns that you may have. We try to categorize them as best we can. And then it has a comment field for some free-form comments. And then in response to the submission, as well as the web form, and also the hotline, if we have your email, you will get a email receipt. And it's going to send you back some key information that you submitted, just to give you the confidence that the system has received the information that you submitted, and it's not just going into some empty void. It's in a database that the town has access to, that the airport has access to, and it collects the data in a very accurate manner. Now, off of that email, you can also click on the Smart Receipt link. And what that is it opens up a dedicated page. This is a system that we developed within Plain Noise that, again, takes those 4 data points that I mentioned before, daytime, lat, and long, matches them with those 4 data points in the flight track data set, and tries to identify the aircraft that was closest to the reporting household at the date and time that they say they were affected by aircraft noise. And so in this case, this was a household out in Noyak, or I'm sorry, I think it's Noyak or North Sea, and it was a seaplane. coming in over the water and coming in and landing on runway 28, I believe. And so the smart receipt has these individual data points that you can click on. So in this case, it mentions the tail number of the aircraft, who owns the aircraft, the type of aircraft it was, in this case, a Cessna 208, which is a typical seaplane operation. And it also mentions the altitude at the closest point it was to the person's reporting household of the complaint. Now, just to move forward, we also do real-time GIS maps. This is a 90-day map. It's on the dashboard when you open up Complaint Box. And I should mention the people who have access to Complaint Box, it's not accessible for the public. This is a tool for the airport and for the governmental entity that operates the airport. So in this case, the town has access as well as the airport has access. And this is a 90-day map as of last week, just showing the reporting households. We use a choropleth analysis, so therefore the map markers, the diameter and the color intensity is varied depending on the number of complaints, which we use as part of our definition of level of annoyance. So obviously, the more annoyed you are, typically the more complaints you're going to file, and the larger and the darker red your map marker is going to be. So this just shows, this just shows the sort of the breadth of geographic area that the complaints are received from. We have 20-mile distance rings, pretty much going from Montauk all the way to Baiting Hollow. And Baiting Hollow is a little bit beyond the 20-mile.
So Robert, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? Because you said earlier, you know, as of today, we have just over 28,000 complaints for East Hampton Town Airport, and that the plane noise accepts airnoise.io complaints. Are you accepting those in real time? Do they come in at a wave at a certain period in the month? How does that work?
Airnoise.io are received in real time, just like our web form mobile app or hotline.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And do you get the same kind of household information from in that too when you use that system?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we work closely with Airnoise. Again, they use their system at a lot of airports around the country. It's a community-based system. And so, for example, SeaTac out in Seattle, we do 3 airports in Seattle. We do Boeing Field, SeaTac, and also Payne Field. And all 3 of those airports use airnoise.io as one of their submission methods, as well as Charlotte Douglas uses it, and a whole bunch of airports across the country. So we just receive them just like any of the complaints that use our submission methods. And they're just categorized as air noise, just like we categorize our complaints as web form or hotline or mobile, just so we know what the source of the data is.
So what,
so this is,
and I don't know if you know this answer, but for, let's just say for this year where we've got over 28,000 complaints, would you know what percentage of complaints are coming from airnoise.io?
Yes. When I share my screen to the system, I can search that for you and give you the number. Every month, when we do our monthly reports and submit them to Jim Brundage as well as the town, we include that data. So I could show the July report and give you that information as well.
That'd be great, because typically the only one at the town board level that receives those daily reports and updates is the liaison to the airport. So,
I see.
I'm not sure.
Well, we can, and I should mention, we can, our system on a daily basis sends out, I'm sorry.
Are you still sending out on a daily basis to Jim? And we just learned that Sylvia's getting it on a daily basis.
Peter, you're getting it.
I don't
Yeah,
receive
so
them.
every morning at 8 o'clock, the system automatically sends out yesterday's complaints. And we can send that to any emails that you would like us to send it to within the town. So if we're not sending it to certain board members, then you want them included, just let me know and we'll add them to the distribution list.
Perfect. Thanks, Robert.
Sure. So this is just zooming in on the map. You can see the distribution of households, the density within the various polygons of the hamlets. And the darker blue indicates the larger amount of households within the hamlet. So this is the Wayne-Scott School District polygon, and there are 36 reporting households over the last 90 days. And so not only do we get the map markers are indicating who's submitting complaints, what volume of complaints they're submitting, but geographically, we're tracking which sections of the East End are submitting the most complaints and the most households within these various polygons. And here's just a closer zoom in of that 90-day map. Now, this household over here, I don't know if you can see it on your screen. This household over here of the last 90 days has submitted close to 1,700 complaints. And that's indicated on the legend. And, just to show you the level of annoyance that we have. Now, we also provide the monthly reports. Here's that answer to the question before. So this is we do 2 reports every month, plus we do an email summary that combines the data. And that's something that Kathy had asked for a number of years ago. This is just an example, the Town of East Hampton report. This is the most recent report in July. There were 71 reporting households that submitted 2,505 comments, and the total for the year for households within the Town of East Hampton boundaries are 6,699. And then we do a breakdown of the households by hamlet. And then we also do some additional metric breakdowns. In this case, here's the submission method. So in this case, for July, for the Town of East Hampton, 75, almost 76% of the complaints were received by the mobile app, and 13.4% were received by air noise. And then we have web form and hotline, et cetera, et cetera. And then we also, here's another example of the metrics that we provide, the analysis. We get the operational data from the airport and also from Vector Airport Systems Solutions, I believe. And we do some quick math and determine the number of operations per complaint by aircraft type. And that definitely shows it indicates which aircraft are deemed the most annoying, as are shown on this chart here, which is included in the monthly reporting. So in this case, again, July of 2023 for the Town of East Hampton, nearly 70% of all the complaints received were helicopter related. Nearly 14% were jets, 9% were props, 3.6 seaplane, et cetera, et cetera. So we're getting the data, we're just parsing it as best we can, and hopefully a useful way for the town and for the airport to make decisions from that data. And that's basically it on the presentation. If you bear with me for 2 seconds, I'm just going to share my screen. This is the dashboard. So I'm not sure if you can see that. I hope you can.
Yes, we can.
Good. So if you just notice, this just updated automatically. These graphs and charts update in real time every couple of minutes. This is live data. If we get some complaints while we're chatting, you'll see these numbers turn like, I guess, like the Jerry Lewis tote board. It's just live. So today we've got 35 complaints so far, 1,850 for the month. And I mentioned the number when I first looked at it this morning, it was a little bit less. So now it's 28,353. When I last looked, it was 28,346. So these numbers just come in. Now this map, this is the dashboard. So let's say when Jim opens it up or airport staff opens it up, this is what they see. And this is taking the data and just breaking it down into what hopefully is a useful visualization for the users. So in this case, this is the month to date. So starting September 1 through today, the 12th at 12:10, Wayne Scott has submitted the most complaints. And then to me, this is very, and hopefully to you as well, very valuable information in terms of which hamlets are being the most affected and what aircraft are generating those complaints. So we do a secondary breakdown, not only by hamlet, but of aircraft type. So in this case, this sort of lavender color is helicopters. So you can see that almost the majority, well, more than the majority, almost all of the complaints from Wayne Scott are helicopter related. And just by scrolling over, we get a little pop-up that says 402 complaints are helicopters so far this month. And then let's see, down at the bottom here, these are seaplanes, 11 seaplane complaints, 33 props, and 29 jet. And then you can just see that it's Wayne Scott, then the North Fork. We lump all the hamlets on the North Fork together. And but in the data, we can search on whether it be Mattatuck or Southold or Orient. All of the North Fork localities are broken down within the system. Now, just scrolling down, I'm going to be very quick and turn this off because I don't want anyone's name to be shown. These are the top 10 commenters over the last 30 days. I'm not going to scroll over it because their names will pop up, but you can see here in this ring chart that over the last 30 days, someone has submitted 442 complaints. That's the most noise affected based on our data. And someone has submitted 390 and then 247. And again, a valuable tool, this number here, the 194, means that of the top 10, or I should say, all of the top 10 have submitted more than 194 comments over the last 30 days to show that level of annoyance out in the surrounding communities. This is data of month to month. You can see the cyclical and seasonal nature of the airport, which is consistent with the airport for many, many years, is that the complaints peak in the summer. So you can see that the August complaints are, looks like somewhere around 8,300 combined. And September, again, just approaching halfway, and we're down from the August peak. After Labor Day, the comments start declining. This is also broken down by aircraft type. And again, the lavender is helicopter. So you get the sense, again, I keep saying it, but we're all about data visualizations. And with all the data that we collect, hopefully making it useful for your needs. Now, this is that 90-day map that I took some static images from, and we can zoom in, zoom out, and we can also filter on the various hamlets. So if I just click on Sag Harbor, then only the Sag Harbor complaints show up, and I can get them all back. Just real quick, I can show you what the noise complaint table looks like. We've sanitized this, so no one is, no one's names or phone numbers is being displayed publicly. We're very careful about privacy. So just wanted to show you this. So this, there was a complaint received, let's say the last one we have a correlation for at 11:15 this morning from Wayne Scott. Now, when I mentioned before we do automatic correlations, we've identified that the aircraft that generated that complaint was 777 Zulu Alpha. And there's the tail number, the type of aircraft, the altitude over the person's home. And I can click on the Smart Receipt preview. I'm going to do it very quickly and delete, because the person's address, their name won't show up, but their address will. So I'm going to click that off very quickly, hopefully. Oh, it's actually on my other screen, so that works out really well. I'm just going to slide this over. So this is the Smart Receipt that the person gets when you click on that email receipt. It will open up this map, and this shows the flight track of the aircraft that generated the concern. And let me just click there. I can click on the track itself. Hold on a sec. And you can just see it was inbound aircraft. So again, we have a number of sophisticated features with our database that hopefully the town can take advantage of. I should mention one of the cool things we can do, because we have the tail numbers, we can search on tail numbers and say, which aircraft has generated the most complaints over a given time period or within a given geographic area. So there's a lot of detailed analysis that we can do. So just wanted to show you that. That's our complaint box. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Board members have any questions?
No, I've asked them all.
Robert, thank you so much for joining us today and presenting this to the public.
Thank you for having me.
I think it's really important for the general public to understand about the service that's provided, and clearly the importance to us as town board seeking to manage our own airport. It's critically important to moving forward on that effort as well. Having the data over so many years helps us better understand what are the most offensive aspects of air noise on our community, and will guide us towards seeking management of an airport in a way that reflects community standards. And we really appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Robert.
So moving on now, we have presentation of the New York State Clean Water, Clean Air, and Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act. This was, I believe, a $4 billion effort that was passed by referendum last year, and that has presented a number of grant opportunities. And we have Jennifer Campbell, our grants analyst, who's here to present. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm going to present some information from the education listening tour that we were invited to, and I represented the town there, regarding the New York State Clean Water, Clean Air, and Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act. We were lucky enough to be part of the tour here in Suffolk County, where members from SUNY and the DEC came to explain what to expect with this bond act. And although the funding opportunities have not yet been released, the panel wanted to educate the public on the types of projects that may be eligible for funding. And as part of the Bond Act, New York State will be setting aside $400 million of funding for green building projects to be awarded to successful applicants. When the notice of funding is released, the town of East Hampton does intend to apply for funding for a sub-project within the senior center construction project. I also have some highlights from the Q2 grant report that I can go over. So we have a number of grants that are in the application, pre-award, and awarded stage. So we have a public shellfish hatchery expansion grant. The contract has recently been amended to show an end date of March 31st, 2024. The original award amount was for $399,997 to go toward the restoration of the shellfish hatchery to improve the water quality. This is to be reimbursed as the project progresses, and to date, the town has been reimbursed $124,987.44. We have, with aquaculture, a hatchery and nursery consolidation project, which has also received, we've also put in an application for funding. The application is with New York State Empire State Development and is currently in the pre-award stage. A decision has not been made by the funding agency. However, the town has requested $400,000 to go toward the construction of a new hatchery. The Downtown Revitalization Program through Suffolk County, this application was submitted with a funding request of $60,000 to go toward the installation of new runoff and stormwater drain system at the Montauk Playhouse. A decision has not been made by the funding agency to date, and it is considered to be in the pre-award stage. We had a number of reimbursements that we've been working towards and putting through with FEMA regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. We submitted a reimbursement request for the senior nutrition program during the COVID-19 pandemic and the expenses incurred through this program. The town requested and received a reimbursement of $251,086.19. The Justice Court right now is in the process of applying for a grant from the Justice Court Assistance Program, and the amount that they will be requesting will be $30,000 for equipment and enhancements to the Justice Court. New York State DEC Water Quality Improvement Program. It's the Green Reach Infrastructure Demonstration, which is the grid at 3 Mile Harbor. The proposed work to be completed under this funding was planning, design, and construction of a permeable reactive barrier to reduce non-point source nitrogen loads to be sited on the location found to be a hotspot of nutrient loading to the harbor. We have requested and received $375,000. This award has been closed as we have received the full reimbursement. The 2021 Municipal Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Grant has been awarded to us to help install 20 level 2 emissions vehicle charging ports at Town Hall within our parking lot here. We have been awarded $250,000. No reimbursement requests have been made to date. Submission for reimbursement will occur as the project progresses. We also have applied for and received a grant in the amount of $3,075 for a Town of East Hampton Recycling Outreach and Education Program, which was a collaboration between the Energy Sustainability Committee and the Department of Natural Resources and Sanitation Department to educate the community on recycling and waste reduction and the services provided here at the town. We are currently in the the pre-application or pre-award process for an unnamed winter storm in 2022, where we are currently working with FEMA to be reimbursed for the emergency construction that took place in downtown Montauk on the Ocean Beach crossovers. We do not have a funding request amount as of yet because we're still working with FEMA and DSHS to figure out and the natural resources to figure out where we are as far as reimbursement is concerned. The town of East Hampton has also requested $350,000 to pursue a site assessment and design of 2 living shorelines as a natural solution to prevent shoreline erosion and reduce inland flooding and overwash potential through the Living Shorelines National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. This will help the town of East Hampton to adapt to the changing environment in a sustainable way. Right now, the contract is currently under review, but the award is for $350,000. We also received a grant award in the amount of $5,000, which has been requested and reimbursed through the Clean Energy Communities team. And this was to subsidize the costs for engineering services associated with the construction of a solar canopy at the Town Hall campus parking lot. We are sub-applicants with the Montauk Chamber of Commerce on a downtown revitalization grant through Suffolk County. The grant is currently, we have been awarded $21,588. We are just waiting for the contract to be submitted to us for review, and no reimbursements have been made because it's in a pre-contract status. We also submitted a grant application through the 2023 consolidated funding application for creating coastal resiliency zones. The request from the town of East Hampton was $600,000 to be used to draft model codes and scenario plannings to protect downtown Montauk economy and natural resources. That is currently in a pre-award status. The applications are still being reviewed.
Do you know what the timing for that is, Jen, when we typically hear back?
Typically December.
Yeah, it's
End of
going to be
December.
probably before the end of the year, but it's going to be a little bit of time. There were a number of applications throughout it, so this just happened to be the one that we were able to get to have a project that aligned with, and I'm thinking, yeah, probably before the new year.
Great, thank you.
The police department is in the pre-award stage for the 2023 Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership, and that's for the police department to be reimbursed for the purchase of bulletproof vests, and the award was for $6,375. No reimbursement requests have been made to date. We're still in the process of purchasing the vests. The 2022 Public Safety Revenue Share, which is through Suffolk County, where Suffolk County will reimburse the town of East Hampton for police department work. This is an annual appropriation, and the town of East Hampton requested and received $1,372,967. We also have an application under review for the Lieutenant Lee Hayes Youth Park, and this is through the Congressional Direct Spending Program. The town of East Hampton has requested $1,245,000, and the application is currently under review. The Department of Sanitation has 3 applications that are currently under eligibility review. One is to purchase a baler, and we asked for $185,452, and the DEC is reviewing eligibility. The Sanitation Department also has a grant request for recyclables transport trailers or roll-off boxes, again through the DEC. We requested $58,728 in funding, and it is still under eligibility review. The Department of Sanitation also has a grant application in, again with the DEC, to purchase a Mack granite truck for the removal of recyclable materials. We requested $82,779.28 in funding, and the application is currently under review with the DEC. The Department of Sanitation has submitted a reimbursement for the Stop Days activities of 2021. We requested $23,208, and that application is currently under program manager review with the DEC. We have a municipal facilities program in which we are looking to request $250,000 in funding for the Old Stone Highway project. The project narrative and supporting documents are currently being prepared for submittal to this program. Going back to COVID, it's the gift that keeps on giving. We have a couple of projects that are currently in the pre-award state. Two of them are for cleaning and sanitizing efforts throughout the town. We did submit one of them for reimbursement in the amount of $173,142.37, and that is currently pending review from FEMA. Our second application for cleaning and sanitizing efforts townwide is in the pre-award state. We don't have a number yet because we're still working with FEMA and DSHS to kind of flesh out what is eligible for reimbursement under this particular application. And the third is for public assistance management costs. So that too is something that will probably be the last one for submittal because they want me to put my time in also. So we have money from the American Rescue Plan that we have requested and received in the amount of $2,038,865.66. Might have gotten that wrong. 2038-865.66, and that is being utilized for a number of different projects throughout the town. So that is the entire quarterly report as far as the grants are concerned today.
Thank you very much, Jen. Do you have a just ballpark total on all those grants? It's like 13 plus million, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Some of it's applied for, some of it's received, some of it's reimbursements. I understand. And we have with us Rebecca Hanson, our budget director.
Good afternoon. I told Jen I was here for moral support today. It's a lot, like you said, Supervisor. I mean, some of it's reimbursable. The town fronts the money and then we get it back. Some of it, there's a portion of it we do, and there's an 80-20 match or 75-25. And then in the case of FEMA, with the COVID, initially, they, normally FEMA 75-25, and that they have stepped up and will be reimbursing the entirety. I think it's really beneficial for the public to realize that there's a lot of time and effort that goes into these grant applications. Some are a lot easier than others. Jen joked FEMA is a gift that keeps on giving, but the level of detailed information that we have to provide is literally, with the home delivery program under Human Services, was who was driving what bus on what day for how many miles. It was that level of detail, and that program was extended by the town for the benefit of the seniors or anyone who's taking advantage of that program.
That was over 80,000 meals.
Yeah, and literally having to document that level. On the sanitizing portion of it, we have to demonstrate to FEMA, yes, we do buy cleaning products every year, but how much was over and above during that COVID time that you would normally be spending? Why were you buying colored tape? It's really just to that level. And some of the higher technically difficult applications, such as the planning, Jen works very closely with the department heads on these application submissions. So we did start sometime last year, I think, we started providing quarterly updates to the town board so that they were aware of what, once you do that grant intake form and you pass your resolution, okay, well, where are we? What is the status of that grant? Did we get it? Did we not get it? So we thought that would be really important information to pass along to the town board. So.
Thanks, Becky. I know that is a tremendous amount of work and resources that go into applying and monitoring these grants, and we thank you for that. And why do we even bother? Because, and the short answer to that is because it saves taxpayers money, and it helps us move forward on a number of different projects, initiatives that we would have to otherwise either forego or raise taxes in order to provide those funds. Think of it a little bit as a tax rebate for our local citizens, because these funds are coming from levies of state and federal taxes in most instances, sometimes in county as well. So that's money that we pay out that's coming back to our community. And that's why it's worth going after these grants. Obviously, the town's been very successful at getting a number of important grants over the last several years. That has a lot to do with the support of the town board on going after these grants. And of course, obviously our staff have been excellent in helping us win these grants. And, so we hope to continue to do that to offset capital costs and reduce borrowing and actually move initiatives forward in a way
Right, in
that
case in
benefits
point
town.
is that ARPA money, which was just over $2 million. The town board did make the decision to use a majority of it, which was, I think it's just over $1.6 million for the Star Island dock rehabilitation project. And again, that's money that the town is not incurring any long-term debt on. And we were able to supplement some smaller programs with some of that money that, when the bids went out and they came back and we were short on money, maybe from the capital fund or debt that we had already issued on those projects. So that's where we've been able to, we think it was, obviously the town board's decision and support the best way to use some of that money.
Any questions for Jen or Becky?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that concludes our topics today. We'll move on to liaison reports. Kathy, do you have a report for us?
I do, and I'm going to start with the Wainscott CAC. So they met last Saturday via Zoom, and the meeting opened up with members commending the town for all of the improvements that were made at the end of Beach Lane, the parking, moving the bike racks and whatnot. And then Carolyn Logan Gluck, the chair, did a special shout out to my colleague here, David Lees, for all of the work and effort that you put in, and the community appreciates it.
Oh, it is a community. It's a community of staff also. So I want to thank all the staff and departments and town staff that assisted getting us to that point too. So I'll share that attaboy with everyone else.
Awesome. So Chief Sarlo was invited to speak about police training at the Maidstone Gun Club, speeding on back roads and traffic control, as well as any other topics or concerns that the CAC had, and that turned out to include shellfish poaching at Georgia Pond and ATVs on our trails. The chief's presentation, it was very active dialogue with members of the CAC and members of the public, and lasted just about an hour. And he started off by sharing statistics from Memorial Day weekend. He went the Friday of Memorial Day weekend through the Monday of Labor Day. There were over 8,249 events, which averaged out to be 27 events per 8-hour tour. There were 53 commercial and 485 residential noise complaints, 1,097 medical aid cases, 395 motor vehicle accidents, 245 arrests, including 77 for DWI, 2,528 citations issued. 2,000 of those were vehicle and traffic law, and which averaged out to 20 a day. And then he went on to share just the Labor Day weekend statistics, and that was from the Friday at 6 a.m. to Monday at 6 a.m. So that covered 9 shifts. There were 395 events, so that averaged 43 per 8-hour tour. 44 residential and 4 commercial noise complaints, 54 medical aid cases, and 16 motor vehicle accidents, 17 arrests, 9 DWIs, and 94 citations issued. So just how busy, extraordinarily busy our East Hampton Town Police Department is, as are our other enforcement agencies. There was also a presentation regarding the Wainscott Green picnic shelter. Sally Sunshine made the presentation, and Rick Del Mastro's family was present, Cynthia and his wife Cynthia and his daughter Jen, and they talked about it. They're looking to fundraise to put a shelter on that property. They presented it to the community. Folks were very pleased with what the proposal was. And as we were talking, we thought, this would be appropriate topic for an upcoming town board work session. And they were very excited about that opportunity. So I'll follow up with them. The other things that came up that need following up, again, there was a request for the operations and complaints analysis for 2022. The traffic subcommittee had shared their information. Barnaby did a first stab at what the request was. He did it on one map. It's about this big. Chelsea right now is kind of proofing it because he needed, another set of eyes to make sure that everything that was requested is on that document. And then we'll start having internal conversations with the chief, with highway department and town staff. So what we were looking at is it's either going to be an October or November topic at the Wainscott CAC. And then I also shared with them, because this had come up at the August meeting, is that at next week's town board work session on September 12th, Nick Regano, our outside counsel, our environmental counsel, will be on hand to give us an update on the East Hampton Town Airport Superfund site.
September 19th, right?
What did I say? September 19th, right? Today's the 12th. September 19th. And he's going to give us an update. And I made, clarified that we are in full compliance with the DEC. We had submitted the town citizens participation plan back in 2020, but when Rob and I went to look for it on Friday, it's not posted on the website. So we need to get that posted. And then lastly, the East Hampton Arts Council met yesterday. They really were meeting to just get their ducks in a row for their big event this Thursday night. Carol Steinberg is going to be speaking at the East Hampton Library in the Baldwin Family Lecture Room Thursday, September 14th, 6 to 7:30, about creators and appropriators, what the Warhol versus Goldsmith Supreme Court decision means for all creatives. The town, as you recall, we put an ad in the paper to publicize the event. Carol was actually interviewed by the East Hampton Star, and they were very excited about the article. And we have used the money from our the Arts Council, fund to have that videotaped so that it can be posted on LTV on their YouTube channel. So for those folks that couldn't be in attendance, so that is scheduled for this Thursday. And then I did say that was lastly, but I just wanted to bring up two other things that has come up in conversations as I'm out and about. One is if we could get the folks from Southampton Hospital to come out and give a presentation at a town board work session to discuss the status of the freestanding emergency room that's going up on Panago Place. And the second thing was, is it possible to get the folks from the Suffolk County Water Authority to come out and give us an update on the status of our, drinking water here? And, New York Times did an article a week or two about quantity of water, being available, and folks are concerned. So it'd be great to hear from Jeff Sabo or somebody, on his team to just update the community on that. And that's what I have for today.
Thank you, Kathy. David?
In aquaculture, aquaculture is wrapping up the season by seeding oysters in all the harbors. It's one of the funner times in the season for aquaculture. They're sending about 1 million clams to their overwintering grounds and seeding the rest, which is about 6 million this year. The scallop crop, again, was unfortunately meager once again. Those will be all overwintered and seeded in the spring. Oyster gardening program is going well with about 100 gardeners in 5 harbors, and another dozen or so growing off of their own docks from 3 Mile to Lake Montauk.
Had some of those oysters this weekend.
What about today?
What about today? So low tide, 240, 250. All right.
TikTok here. Aquaculture is still waiting on permits for additional oyster reefs in Accabonac Harbor. And then aquaculture will start beginning kelp work in the fall to be planted in December. Town recreational programs right now for the fall are in full swing. We have fall soccer, fall tennis. Those programs have beginning as of the 11th and just this past weekend. Yoga classes are happening at the Playhouse. Pre-K exploration, free play is also now beginning. please contact the town's recreation department. You can go online to register or visit the town's recreational webpage at ehamptonny.gov and go to recreation. You can sign up for texts and also email alerts for these programs as they become available, and also under the town service called Notify Me. As far as also other aspects of recreation, we'll let the board know. The crews are fully mobilized to install the pickleball courts on South Elder Street in Montauk. This will now have a temporary closure of the tennis courts there for that construction process, which should last maybe about 8 weeks approximately. That's also on our town's website, and we're messaging out to user groups. Also, the week of September 25th is when we expect the contractors to be mobilizing up at the near the skate park to be redoing the town's basketball court up there. Going into another part of recreation, it's actually our town's beaches. Again, to everyone, I know we heard from Bruce Bates just now about our beaches. The call for the beaches being closed to swimming will come from our chief lifeguard if that happens. He is monitoring it, but no matter what, this will be the last weekend of lifeguards at our some of our town ocean beaches. After that, swimming is no swimming signs will go up, as they will be the beaches will not be guarded anymore. Go next to summer. But it's still beautiful out there. But please be intelligent about your decision to go into the water, not just for this week, but for the weeks moving ahead into. Couple of updates going to other infrastructure projects right now. The Star Island commercial dock, which we just heard about, which the town put some ARPA money towards. That's moving ahead at a steady pace right now with the amendment that was ongoing. Also, the town's pump out tank that was at Star Island has been changed over. That was part of a water quality grant, and then that moved, that doubled the size of that tank. It was down for 3 days last week, but it's up and running functionally right now also.
That's great.
Almost finished with some tie down strapping and that, but it's functionally running again then too. So well done to the town on that. And again, I think we're going out to bid or went out to bid for the one at Gann Road also. Other infrastructure right now at the Playhouse, there's going to be a potential mobilization for the HVAC upgrade starting next week. I'll have some more information about that from our capital projects manager. That might be heading that way. Also, you'll see mobilization at the rec center then too. For rec center, for the roof replacement and HVAC mobilization. They'll be starting to work on that potentially this week and starting to stage in these in areas in the front there. We've been notified of that. So has the rec center, and so has the Village of East Hampton and fire marshals then too. Lastly, the Montauk CAC met last night. We actually had a presentation from town staff along with a member from CCOM about the Benson Preserve meeting to the public out there. It was received very well. Very similar to the one we received here at the town hall. That elicited a lively question and answer period. We heard from actually two litigants on that most recent court case. Each have opposing views of each other, not each other, sorry, of what should happen on the property. One actually being the name Jay Schneiderman, who is a reservation holder, very supportive of the project. That was there. The committee then ended up taking a vote on supporting the project, and the committee voted 16 in favor, 4 abstentions, 1 nay, in support of the Benson Preserve project moving forward as presented. With that, we'll discuss internally about setting up a potential moving forward to a public hearing date. I want to let the board know that that discussion happened last night. A lot of questions that were out there were answered as best they could be.
What town staff was there presenting?
Jeremy Samuelson presented along with Rusty Schmidt, and then Jamie Leduc and David Frunethal were there for CCOM also. There were some legal comments that were questioned by Joe McGivern, who was there on behalf, not behalf of the town, but on behalf of one of the property owners, and then also Andy Hammer, who was there on behalf of a separate property owner also then too. Besides that, there wasn't much time left for anything else. There are a lot of fall events happening in Montauk. There was thanking the town for work that they've done in downtown Montauk to keep it orderly and neat this summer. But there are some concerns about the trash cans. I share the same concerns with a member of the Montauk Village Association. Trash cans that we purchased last year, I thank the board for doing so. They just aren't adequate for the intensity of use out there, and the slats are a little too big. So there's some litter moving around. So I'm going to be working with Buildings and Grounds to look at different trash cans that we can use in highly trafficked sites, such as downtown Montauk, and move those cans to other locations. Besides that, that was it. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Sylvia, I know you've been away, so I don't expect.
No, but I'm going to just, again, you can see the amount of work that my colleagues had to pick up in my absence. And I thank you very much for being able to do that without skipping a beat. You were able to keep that continuum going, making sure that the community was notified, that they were cared about, and that, you all did your job so beautifully and so well. And I thank you all for that. A belated thank you to the Volunteer Ambulance Association for the day that they came to get me, and that you guys noticed that I needed that medical help. So they were Johnny on the spot, and they were professional, and made me feel calm and cared for. And that is another thing that I really feel our community should value, our community members and our volunteer ambulance associations. So that is my liaison report.
Thank you, Sylvia. Kate?
Thank you, Sylvia. Yes, I'll start with the reminder that this Saturday, the town has declared it East Hampton Cleanup Day. This is part of the Litter Action Committee work, and there'll be cleanups from Wainscott CAC, Friends of Georgia Pond, East Hampton CAC, Springs Corridor Watch, Springs CAC, Acabana Protection Committee, Barnes Landing Association, Lazy Point Association, Montauk CCOM, the East Hampton Trails Preservation Society, and Business Gurneys have all committed to hosting cleanups that day. For the full list and all the information on who to contact for each cleanup in your area, you can go to the town's website, and it's right on the news carousel. Just click on for additional information. And again, that's all day this Saturday, September 16th. And I thank all the participating organizations, community groups, and citizens. Everyone can participate. Just if you see a piece of litter, pick it up, and you'll be part of the cleanup day. Gloria Frise is continuing with the food scraps compost program. She'll be coming in soon as the pilot program comes to an end. Right now, the average weekly pickup of food scraps that's diverted from our waste stream is 300 pounds a week. And again, that's simply a morning pickup at the Springs Farmers Market and at Sag Harbor Farmers Market. So that's quite a successful program.
Those are drop-off points, right?
I'm sorry, yeah, drop-off points for folks to drop off, but you have to sign up. Again, there's a website, ehcompost.org, where you can sign up for the pilot program or get any information on composting in general. I think I gave most of my report on the zoning code amendments work groups. I just want to mention also Mark Abramson, who's the Assistant Planning Director, Natural Resources, gave the group a presentation on the challenges for clearing compliance, and we'll be having a further presentation on that and some recommendations on a process that may be more helpful for getting compliance on overclearing for construction activities in the near future. And again, I think I've already given the rest of the information out already, so I'll end there.
Thank you, Kate. I just want to again reiterate and remind folks to review your personal preparedness for Hurricane Lee or any subsequent hurricane or tropical storm that we may get on the heels of Lee, should Lee go offshore, which we're all hoping, praying for. monitor that ongoing evolving forecast as we expect there to be some impacts, the severity of which we don't know yet. This coming weekend, we've talked about the beaches already. The surf will begin to become high. Certainly by Thursday, we expect some coastal erosion as a result, riptides and whatnot. So even though it may seem nice out, be very careful about the water. We don't have guards on duty now. Make sure your vehicles are full of fuel well ahead so that you're not getting in a long line should impacts become more severe later on. Test your generators, flashlights, batteries, etc. Yesterday was a solemn day, a day of reflection, as it was the 22nd anniversary of 9/11 and the tragedy that unfolded on that day. I happened to be out in Montauk in the morning, and as I was out in Montauk, that's 22 years ago, at that point later in the day, and the sirens were going off, calling out, first responders, those sirens representing the moments of that day as they unfolded. And honestly, it was had a very large impact on me as I heard those sirens repeatedly going out at various points during the day, and recognizing, the loss of life and how it changed our world at that time. I know I was joined by council members at the ceremony at Hook Mill, which is an annual solemn event where our first responders gather with community members to remember the day. And so, I think we just have to be ever mindful in remembering that day and the contributions of those who go into tragedies like that, not thinking about their own welfare, but always thinking about others. So it's a day not just to remember the victims, but also those who serve and protect. We do have, speaking of serving and protecting, we have free COVID tests available here in the town hall atrium. We got another supply. They do have expiration dates on them, so come on in and get some now. And as they become available to us, we'll continue to provide them for the community. Councilmember Lisa and I had a meeting with the Long Island Railroad. Was it Friday? It seems like a week or more ago already, but on Friday we met via Zoom through a meeting organized by our Assemblyman Fred Thiel, coordinating with the various levels of the LIRR bureaucracy. They had representatives from engineering, from management, administration, and whatnot, to discuss the closure of Cranberry Hole Bridge. That bridge is not repairable in the view of the LIRR. That bridge was basically designed originally as a bridge for horse and carriage. So it's not surprising that more than 100 years later, it would be where it is today. They feel that it's no longer repairable, that it needs to be replaced. They have stated that they expect to have engineering RFP, request for proposals, go out by the end of the month. We hope that they certainly fast track that and get that request out as soon as possible. They said they have no funding for the replacement of the bridge, but everyone on the call agreed that we would seek to garner whatever funding necessary to replace that bridge. I just want to create the expectation that this is going to take some time. It's a major project, and there are a number of different entities that will have to be involved in order to actually make it happen. So the patience of our community, I know, will be tested because this isn't going to happen fast. Just want to let folks know that we're doing all we can on our end to see that this is expedited. We still have the ongoing contract negotiations with our CSEA and PBA, and I believe we are close to a fruitful conclusion. The negotiations have taken place in good faith and in a cooperative nature, and I think we're close to resolving those and concluding those negotiations. We're continuing to finalize the preliminary budget, which I expect we'll have a first run on internally probably by next week. As you know, that we will be presenting that at the first work session in October 2nd, for first budget review and discussion. We did get some good news that the state pension numbers will be pulled from the calculation of the tax cap. That's good. That's really good news. As you know, we have a number of obligations as a town, whether they be labor contracts, requirements to pay into pension funds and whatnot, that we have no control over year to year. Those are longer term obligations, and those obligations are rarely, if ever, below 2%. So that makes budgeting really challenging to stay below the 2% tax cap. We are working towards that goal, as I know all board members are interested in staying below the tax cap. And we're going to do our best to do that. We'll have a much better idea where we sit by next week. Kathy mentioned having the Southampton Stony Brook Hospital in to do an update on the emergency, excuse me, the emergency room satellite project, which is underway. I'll just state that they have received a number of deliveries of steel. And if you look out today, there is a crane up. So they're in the steel erection phase, which is, obviously the framing of the structure is an important construction step. So it is moving forward, but we'll try to get them in the next couple of work sessions to just give an update and let folks know where they stand in terms of proposed or expected completion date and whatnot.
Yeah, and also beyond that, what I've heard from a lot of folks is, and folks on the East Hampton Youth Task Force, that we really need some, mental health services out here, psychiatric services at the freestanding emergency department. And I know folks have been trying to lobby the hospital on that to provide those services here.
I hear that, and I understand that issue is incredibly important, whether it's for youth or adults alike. There is not enough mental health services available to us on Long Island, period, especially out East End. I know that's an ongoing issue. And, it's also true with some other, medical issues and treatment. I know, for instance, dialysis is a bit of a ride for folks who are requiring that services. We probably could have a full-blown hospital here in town based on need alone. But we are extremely grateful and appreciative of the fact that we'll have at least an emergency satellite. And again, we can ask Suffolk County Water Authority to come in. We do have a request to do have a presentation from Peter Topping, who's the baykeeper. He's gotten a mini grant from the Peconic Estuary Program to install chronolog stations throughout the Peconic Estuary. That's to engage the public in documenting changes to our shorelines and marshes and whatnot over time. It's a pretty innovative and creative way of capturing the changes as they occur within our ecosystems, and it's a rather simple way of doing that. The request will be to install posts at various locations and public properties that has basically a little, at the top of the post, a little thing that will hold your phone so that you can take a shot of that same view, and then you can upload it on through a QR code, I guess, to a link in a site, and they will collect all the photographs submitted, be able to do a time lapse with them to show changes coastal changes, inundation and whatnot as it occurs over time. So we'll ask Peter to come in and make that presentation.
It's great.
for
Citizen
us,
science.
at an upcoming work session.
It's great.
The Amagansett Advisory Committee did have a meeting last night. I got there just as they were closing up the meeting, having attended the hook mill ceremony and the reception at the Amagansett Firehouse afterwards. And what I gathered from speaking to Vicki Lippman, who's the vice chair and sitting in for Rona Klopman, who's out, was that there was primarily just a discussion about the impacts of events and activities on surrounding residences coming from the Reform Club on Windmill Lane. They will, I think, be sending further information about that to me, and I'll circulate to the board and the events committee. And that's all I have. We do now have some resolutions to adopt.
I would like to offer Resolution 2023-1243. This is to authorize the CPF acquisition and amend the 2023 Management and Stewardship Plan. Quarter owner is Donna Brown at 23 South Greenwich Street, Montauk, tax map 300-32-2-11.1 is 0.54 acres of land. We had the public hearing on September 7th, 2023. Purchase price not to exceed $400,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, pass and carry.
1244 is a budget modification for the Highway Department, where we entered into an agreement with LIPA and its agent, Loco, upon a separate resolution, and this would be actually for the Second House Road, North Shore Road intersection and substation project, where what we need to do is do a budget modification for phase 2 of the design. We're going to increase the budget revenue of $60,000 and increase the expense budget line for outside professional in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed. Carried. Resolution 1245 is to reinstate part-time senior airport attendant Dana Brancato, and that would be retroactive to September 9th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed. Carried. Resolution 1246 is a budget modification for the Marine Patrol. That's moving $12,500 from health insurance to motor vehicle repairs and supply in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1247 is Brooks Park Management Historic Site Management Plan authorization. This is to authorize the Brooks Park Historic Site Management Plan. And do I have a second?
I have to recuse myself because I have made donations to Friends of Brooks Park, so I think I need to recuse myself.
So I'll second it.
Thank you.
Carol, can we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Recuse.
Recuse, sorry.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
I just want to say I am a very big supporter of this, obviously, if I'm giving donations to it. I think it's great that we're getting this far.
I have a resolution 2023-1248. This is budget modification for street lighting. This is the repairs to a school beacon that got run over by a car. That's actually at Springs Fireplace Road in Garners. We're bringing $12,000 from contingency to subcontractor costs in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
I have Resolution 1249. This is a provisional appointment and promotion to planner for Morgan Slater. And this is whereas the Department of Civil Service is given an examination for planner. And whereas Morgan Slater is here, meets the required qualifications for the position, therefore be it resolved that Morgan Slater be and is hereby appointed on a provisional basis and promoted to full-time position of planner at the hourly rate of $29.49, which is $61,337.74 annually for, that's grade 24, step 3 for 40-hour work week, and that's retroactive to September 11th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
I have Resolution 1250, which is to amend Resolution 2023-894 for Justice Court Spanish language interpreters, and be it resolved that Resolution 2023-894 is hereby amended to revise the rate of compensation for the half-day rate from $275 to $220 for Spanish language interpreters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
I have 2023-1251, which is to adopt amendments to Chapter 255-429, Emergency Activities, and this is where the town board held a public hearing on August 3rd to consider a local law entitled Local Law Amending Town Code Chapter 255 to amend Section 255-429 for emergency activities. This is after considering the proposed local law and comments received at the time of the hearing. Town board believes that the adoption of the proposed local law is in the best interests of the town, and whereas adoption of the proposed local law is an unlisted action pursuant to New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and Chapter 128, Environmental Quality Review of the Town Code, as the Planning Department has prepared on behalf of the town board an environmental assessment form to consider the impacts of the local law to amend Chapter 255, and a recommendation has been made, and the town board concurs that proposed amendments will not result in any significant adverse impacts environmentally, and whereas a coastal assessment form has been prepared by the Planning Department on behalf of the town board for consistency of the proposal with the town of East Hampton local waterfront revitalization program, and the department has determined, and the town board concurs, that the proposed activity complies with the LWRP and will be conducted in a manner consistent with the program. Be it resolved that the town board hereby adopts the EAF prepared by the town planning department and deems the proposed amendments to Chapter 255 zoning, Section 429, emergency activities, will not have a significant adverse environmental impact, and a negative declaration to CEQA and Chapter 128 of the town code is hereby made. Further resolved that the town board hereby deems the proposed amendments to 255 zoning, Section 255-429, emergency activities is consistent with the town's local waterfront advisory, and resolved that the proposed local law is hereby adopted, and the full language is in the resolution, and we commonly call this regarding geotextile emergency legislation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 1252 is to appoint part-time traffic control specialists Paul Gonzalez and Joseph Chaco, and that is at an hourly rate of $24.08.
Second.
And that's, I'm sorry, it's retroactive to September 11th, yesterday.
Yeah.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Any other resolutions or matters the board wishes to?
No, I'd like to make a resolution, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss real estate litigation and leases.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Shall we reconvene at 2?
Sounds good.
I will send around a link.
Thank you.
Stay safe, be well, everyone, and